cultural competence, we're looking at a concept that is ever-changing. It begins at awareness and moving towards competence. There's different approaches, different definitions, and new assumptions that have developed and will develop over time. So it's important that we are getting the new knowledge and information. Let's be cutting edge. How about that? Regarding cultural competency. Well, first we're going to start with awareness. We're focusing on our own individual attitudes. Also, knowledge of our own culture and others as well. Now, we can be aware, but that doesn't mean that there's any accountability. Well, I'm aware. So what are you going to do about it? Well, that's just the very first step. As we move towards, on that continuum, cultural competency, we're looking beyond attitudes. We're looking into the tangible actions. We're looking at the potential for institutional accountability. We're looking for equality and social justice. I have a few other definitions for you. If you do not have your PowerPoint out, take a moment and pause this clip so you can pull it out. I have some really wonderful pictures that I want to talk to you about. The first one is assimilation, and that's the process where a minority group gradually adopts the customs and attitudes of the prevailing culture. The picture on this slide is of Stewart Indian Boarding School in Carson City. Now, I had two grandparents attend Stewart Indian Boarding School. If you look closely at the picture, you'll notice a large swimming pool in the back where the girls are laying down. In that picture, I heard stories from my grandparents about how that swimming pool was used as punishment. So if children weren't listening, weren't doing what they were supposed to do, they were actually held underwater. Now, after a few child deaths, this pool was eventually filled in, and now it's just a large grassy area. So if you ever go into Stewart, you can see that large grassy area. That's where the swimming pool used to be. Now, after it was filled, then there were more stories. Now, these were ghost stories about spirits of children who had died there. But anyways, that's another class. So the next slide is acculturation. And this is the process by which people change their culture through the acquisition or elements of the dominant or even a different culture. The picture on the PowerPoint is of my mom. And she is in her regalia. Our family has done so many cultural exchanges with different countries, and one of the places that she absolutely fell in love with was Israel. Now, if you notice on her breastplate, towards the bottom is the Star of David that's actually she beaded it into her breastplate. Star of David, okay, he's a Native American, how's that fit? Well, after taking many trips and making very good friends and close relationships with other people who value not just my mom as a person, but value the Native culture, she made her breastplate with the Star of David to honor the Jewish people. One of the ties and close relationships and understanding that Native American and Jewish people have is both have experienced genocide. Now, as I went through elementary, junior high, and high school, genocide, that word was never mentioned when it came to the Native American experience. I've seen pictures where, actually I taught a class, okay, in 2000 on Indian child welfare, and we talked about a lot of historical things. I show a picture of a mass grave, and when I show that picture, I ask people, where is this picture from? And just about every single person says, it looks like the Holocaust. And it's not. It was the Holocaust. It was the genocide that Native Americans experienced here in the U.S. But that's the U.S.'s dirty little secret. We sweep it under the rug. We don't really talk about that. But in Europe and in other parts of the world, it is acknowledged. And that acknowledgement is so powerful, and it's amazing. Anyways, Okay, now let's go to bicultural socialization. Now, basically, two cultures, right? So it's the ability of a person to integrate the positive qualities of both the dominant and non-dominant culture into their life. So to live biculturally can be an art. It can be also difficult. There can be conflicts when there's incongruence between, the nurturing system, which is your inner circle, and the sustaining circle, which is the outer circle. So if you think of the nurturing system as the micro level, your friends, family, are actually meso. And then if you look at the sustaining system as the macro, the larger environment, your work, your community. But human behavior results from the influences of both. So it's important that we understand that both the nurturing and sustaining systems have an effect on people who are bicultural. Well, why should we be culturally competent? Why do we need to do all this? Well, I'm sure you have lots of good ideas why, but the NASW gives us some reason why. There are some standards of cultural competence for social work in the link that I sent you for one of your readings. And there's 10 standards: ethics and values, self-awareness, cultural, cross-cultural knowledge. We got to know about other cultures. Skills, building and increasing those skills and working with others. Service delivery, we've got to know the resources that are appropriate. Empowerment and advocacy, so that it's not enough just to know, it's not enough just to do, but that we are empowering our clients and advocating for them in the larger systems. Supporting a diverse workforce. Now, why would that be a competency? It's a competency because we value diversity and that we value the opportunity to provide that diverse work environment for social work. A professional education, that we're always learning and growing and that we're gaining new knowledge and we're moving along forward on that continuum. Language diversity, that we value the ability to communicate and to have a good understanding with our clients. And if they speak a different language, then we meet the client where they're at. And that may be using interpreters. And that included in that would be even the deaf culture. And then finally, cross-cultural leadership, that we take a leadership stand and that it's not enough for us to be educated and it's not enough for us just to empower, but it's that we need to take leadership and that we are educating others and that we are talking to other professionals and that we are moving not just ourselves along, and not just our profession, but moving others along in being culturally competent. All right, well, that's it. We're going to have a game called Cultural Pursuit when you come on in on Monday. It's a fun little game. We're going to be recognizing, appreciating, and valuing the similarities and differences of one another. And we have some very interesting theories this week on racial identity models.